Another fail. Hello. Welcome to Dwarven Forge Live. This is On the Anvil episode 6? Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Episode 6. I am Nate, and this is...
Mace, hi.
And joining us from Bushwick is...
Hello, I'm Nina.
Yeah. So, we're gonna try and have a remote guests this week and see what happens. I think it's gonna be lively. I think we're gonna be doing. Nina's gonna be sculpting a brand new Wildlands piece live on camera, and we'll be here.
Pieces.
Pieces is
Ooh.
yeah, multi beans. And we're gonna take some questions and whatnots. I don't know. Is there any other fun stuff we're doing tonight, Mace? What else is going
Oh, for sure. I'm being told we're a little bit quiet, so
on? That's
I'm
a
gonna
first.
enunciate a bit. But tonight we have another giveaway because we are just so generous. We are giving away a starter dungeon tonight, painted. It's everything you need to do Undercity dwellings and really torture your party. Um,
Because we
this has
love
been
we love our viewers. We want to
we
give
do.
Dwarven Forge to everybody.
And then we also, this is our fourth week having been in quarantine as a company.
Woo!
So we're all
Is it?
so crazy. Yeah.
It's been that long?
Yeah. We're starting it this week. Yeah.
I've lost track of time.
M-
Time is an illusion.
Does
Mace,
it matter anymore?
Mace and I couldn't figure it out, and we could only tell time based on Twitch streams. Like we went back, we were like, well, the last big one we did in the office was the critical rebuild, and had to figure out where that was based on just going through the Twitch history, and then reverse engineer the schedule from there, because there was like the concept of time has melted away.
Well,
Yeah.
thank goodness for Twitch then.
Right?
Yeah,
That was on the 19th. So I guess we're 11 days away from a whole month, but like, holy.
yeah.
Roll.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll
I miss being in the office.
so badly. I miss it. Like you guys, the screen is not the same. It's like, oh, I will say, speaking of thank goodness for Twitch, it's been helpful for me. Like having these streams sort of feels like contact with the outside world. It's like having you guys watch every week and just getting a bunch of familiar, friendly faces and questions and voices, and it's been very helpful on this end because
Yeah,
it's
something to
weird.
look forward to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's nice to have our little, a community and a support group and people to talk with, and it's been helpful because it's been surreal. I don't know what it's like for anybody else, but here in New York, it's been pretty wild, and we're used to all being in this fun, bustling office, artists everywhere doing all stuff together, and it's weird being all isolated out. It's not, not no
Super
bueno.
weird.
It
I
is.
think
Right?
we also in the office have talked about like pretty much very regularly how we're working so much that we don't really get to play games unless we have a guest in office. So it was really cool that we got to have two games within a week recently, that Twitch stream. It's been interesting finding ways to still produce content even though we are so spread out. But I don't know. I had a lot of fun doing that, and I had a ton of fun watching you guys play too.
The games were a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chug forever. It's like.
That was I want to play that character again.
So for those of you that missed it, we streamed last night. We played some D&D. Tyler, our archivist and customer service, DM'd, and Nina was playing, and I was playing, and Casey was playing, and Hamster was playing, and
Chris.
Chris was playing, and it was awesome. It was so much fun to just play some D&D and wear a fun wig. uh, and we have more. So we're not sure exactly when and where, but we're gonna roll out some more games. We're gonna try and roll them out semi regularly, like I don't know, ideally once a month or something. So hopefully that's something for you guys to look forward to. And what other back at the has anybody found any tricks for coping with the pandemic? Dwarven Forge versus the pandemic.
You mean like out of us three or like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chat?
yeah. No, out of us three.
Well,
We
you know
can
I'm a
chat.
doomsday prepper, so
Yeah.
Nina spent like I don't know 10 minutes going down her list of supplies that she has prepared from
yeah,
powdered
bug out bag.
powdered butter was the
So
one
I can
that
survive in the woods.
that's the
We're
best.
like crazy prepared though. It's like scary, and awesome.
I took a wilderness survival training course when I was a kid. It was in 5th grade.
Man,
I don't know.
And
taught you about powdered butter then?
No, that was from a guide for how to survive in a bunker for long periods of time.
powdered butter for the win. Well, I don't know if you guys in the stream have any advice on staying sane. We would take it. And if you have any advice on homeschooling, also I'm in the market for that. Although thankfully I'm only been responsible for recess, which is a really good that's a good subject for me. But
you're complaining and you're only responsible for recess?
I am. Well,
oh, poor Talia.
She's dying. It's really yeah.
Are you also the vice principal and Talia is the principal?
Yeah, she's everything. She's the principal, the lead teacher, the janitor, the whole school.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's tough.
Her, man.
Wow. So we'll take any advice there too. So let's talk about the news before we dive into before Nina starts throwing clay all around and getting crazy. What do we have in the news, Mace?
I mean, to be very honest, it's a little bit slow. We just did the 2 games. That was a little bit of news. And then we have a Build of the Month video going up this week.
Oh.
That is...
Yeah, I think it might be going up next week. We'll see.
Next week? Okay.
Selena's been hitting a wall. I don't know. It's been so we did our first ever building of the Build of the Month remotely, which was super fun. It was awesome to be able to build the thing with everybody's input, and it was, I don't know, just basically threw a bunch of pieces on this workbench and then took ideas like, hey, what are we gonna build? And you get, I don't know, 20, 50 DMs in one place. There's a lot of good ideas flowing around. And then I tried shooting it the next day, which it took all day, but it worked, I think. But it's been a challenge. It's not as nice. Our usual setups in the office it's a lot easier. So Selena's been fighting with that footage. Particularly the webcam was all glitchy, and I don't know. We'll see. But it will go up. Build of the Month will go up at some point in the near future. And I think it was a fun experiment. I hope you guys that watched it enjoyed being part of the building of the Build of the Month. We can repeat that again. I think I have some surprise news coming in. You guys want to come say hi?
We're going tonight, so Hakan just wanted to say goodnight.
Come on in. You say. You wanted to say goodnight? Good night, buddy. Oh, do you want to say hi out there to the camera?
Hi.
Are you gonna go to sleep? Do you see? Look there, Mace. There's Nina. And do you know who Nina's the mommy of?
Yeah.
Who? Somebody's fuzzy and black and cute.
Tavia!
Not Taver.
No.
That's your Taver.
You remember Momo? Wait, let me get Momo so they can say hi.
Oh, Momo, and this is Mace.
Hi. I don't have any children.
Yeah. You want to see Momo? Oh, is Momo here? Okay. But check this out. So for you guys at home that don't know, Momo is our mascot, the Hellhound. Oh, you see Momo?
Momo! Hi!
All right, we need to go to the close cam for this. Here we go.
Momo says hi.
Oh, I missed
Hi! Hey, Momo, it's us!
There he is.
Grayson!
Here, you can see him over there.
I can see that?
Yeah, everybody can see Momo. All right,
I
good night,
love
boys.
you the best!
All right, I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
You get ready for recess. All right. Whew.
All right, Momo's just gonna sit in the
Yeah, Momo should hang out
Natalie's
forever.
here.
Didn't have a lower third for Momo, but we'll survive. So, other news. Oh, we have. I think we talked about last week. We're Hellscape production is cruising along. We're as of a week or week and a half ago, we were at 75% through casting or something. So we're probably. I haven't gotten an update, but we're probably like dangerously close to finished with casting. So that'll be coming at some point in the future. I don't know. We'll see when that all rolls out, but it's moving along. I mean, the good news is then, back to the pandemic, for good or for ill, the fact that it hit China way before us, like now our factory is kind of back up to life as usual. So we know there's hope. We'll get there too at some point. So that was good news. other follow up from last week. We had, or it was from Building of the Build a Month. We had asked for ideas on terrain tray storage and got some great. Do you know who our winners were, Mace? It was Asa from New Zealand.
There was a person from New Zealand. I believe his name was Asus or something like that.
The winner from yesterday.
No, this was the winner. So we have had the storage with terrain tray issue for a little bit, and Nate had said that he would give anybody who gave the best solution a starter dungeon. And we had two.
We had two people basically suggested the same thing.
Gilbert, and then the other is Asa Campbell.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We've ordered some of those little wooden paper shelves to see if they work, and hopefully that'll solve all of our terrain tray problems. It's a problem. All these stacks of metal, like, you know, as soon as you get more than a few, it's really hard to kind of get them all sorted and not in one giant stack, whatever. And then I don't know. I don't have any other news. I think. Does Momo have any news? What's going on in Dog World?
Well, Momo, we've been working on howling still.
What does that sound like? Can we have a sample?
I howl at him and he barks back at me.
So what does that sound
not
like?
Quite getting it.
So what does your howl sound like?
Ow, 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 ow.
That's really good.
And he just tries to lick my face. He'll bark. But you know, I think he'll get it.
So
Has he ever howled before?
No, I've been playing him some videos of wolves, and I don't know.
So you're homeschooling, is what you're saying?
I am homeschooling him. I am the janitor, the gym teacher, the shop teacher, the principal, not the vice principal.
No, nobody wants to be the vice principal. All right, well let's dive in then, right? If we got so first let's go. This is one camera. Boom, boom, boom. Where is remote color? All right, so Nina.
Mm-hmm.
Hello there. What
Hello.
for our audience who doesn't know you, you want to tell us a little bit I don't know, a little of your backstory, right? Your tragic character backstory. What's your it doesn't have to be tragic.
Character backstory.
No, what do you got?
Well, you know, it's a typical story, farm boy that doesn't think that they're anything special. And then, you know, a wizard comes along, tells them that they're the heir to the kingdom.
What was the name of this wizard?
Stefan Picari. Well, no, my backstory, I don't know, it's maybe a little unconventional. I went to school for political science and was gonna do law. Ended up not.
Such a good choice.
Sculpting, so...
I'm so glad you...
I've been at DF, is it 5 or 6 years? I don't remember.
It's 6 years. It was 6 years? February. Yep.
6 years.
Woo!
Time
is liquid, right? And what was your art background? I know we've talked about this before, but might as well.
Well, it's just something I've always done. But when after I graduated around the Great Recession, unfortunately. So had a little trouble finding a job at first. Ended up just doing a ton of art, going to the Art Students League of New York, which if you're in New York after the pandemic, you should check it out.
What kind of art? What kind of art were you doing?
Started out doing figure drawing with Kosta Vaviakis, who's just an amazing artist and teacher. And honestly, figure drawing is just a great start for any artist. Just the human figure. You wouldn't think it would translate, but it translates into everything.
Like how so? Like what are?
Just your knowledge of form. Like, it's so complex, but also so familiar to you. So you know it looks wrong. Yeah. So when you're drawing other things, it can be a little wrong, and you won't know. But the human body, you have to sort of figure out how to make it right, so you get more practice using that part of your brain. I found.
Yeah. Didn't you study anatomy also?
I did with Frank Porcu, another amazing teacher in New York.
What did you take away from that?
that you can totally put a human skeleton in a suitcase and take it on the subway.
Wait. Wait, a real human skeleton?
Yeah.
How did they loan you a skeleton? Like,
No, you have to have the bones to draw from. So you have to bring the skeleton to where the class is happening.
amazing. See, I love it. So it's just a regular old suitcase. You throw it. You can stuff a skeleton.
Just a regular suitcase, but I mean, this is for art purposes. No one should use this for anything nefarious.
Is it a carry-on suitcase?
Little bigger than the carry-on size, but there was other stuff in it. So.
But they don't always check carry-on, so
they don't check anything on the MTA.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna get stopped and frisked now. I should not have said that.
Well, just don't carry your bone saw out. Like, yeah.
I'm not a criminal. I've never done anything wrong in my entire life. I just want people to know that.
I can vouch for her.
For the record. So you did figure drawing, you did anatomy. What were you doing? But back to early life. You said art was sort of always with you. What are some of the things, like, as a kid, like, what were you doing artistically?
Well, I used to like sculpting and painting just tiny nonsense.
Like what?
Stuff.
Like what kind of tiny nonsense?
When I was a very little kid, my dad found a dollhouse at a garage sale. And it was all basically destroyed. He got it for me, and him and me, we spent time fixing it and painting it. And then with my mom, we were collecting little furniture. We were sewing tiny little comforters and pillows and curtains, and
wow.
So that was probably the beginning of my interest in miniatures.
Well, that translates.
After that, it sort of transitioned more and more into tabletop miniatures.
And when did your obsession with fantasy happen? Right, because you're
that is hard.
You're
to
obsessed.
Say. I feel like I always have been.
Like, you've read every fantasy novel. Anytime anybody mentions it,
no,
but anytime anybody's mentioned a book of note, you're like, oh yeah, read it.
If people have recommendations for me of like fantasy books they've read recently, I have some time on my hands now, so send those recommendations.
Yeah, throw them up in the chat.
Yeah.
And you've also played almost every video game that, like,
no,
anytime.
not even close.
Well, every game that ever gets mentioned in the office, you have strong opinions about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a strong opinion having person.
It's true. So you did a bunch of art. You couldn't find any work. Any other cool art you were studying or working on or doing?
Well, I ended up studying with a bunch of teachers. Dan Thompson was the other main one who I studied painting with. And that's actually probably how I was able to get the job at DF, because it was sort of, I fell into it by accident. I've told the story many times, but it basically comes down to I was painting for Stefan, and he's like, oh, you're doing a really good job. I don't need to give you as much instructions. You can mix the colors yourself. So I just, got called back.
Well, didn't you have the same teacher as him, right? Isn't that how you initially got the...
That was Max Ginsberg, who was my painting teacher after Dan Thompson. Max Ginsberg, everybody should look up his work. He's just a phenomenal painter.
And that's how you originally got hired with Stefan, right? He was looking for...
Stefan went to the Art Students League also. Yeah. And so he knows a lot of people there. So
he knows a lot of people everywhere.
Stefan knows everybody in New York City.
If they've been to a bar, he's met them. He's like...
Yeah, so he knows everybody in New York City. But, he studied at the art Students League also. And he studied with teachers that taught at the Art Students League. So, yeah, we had a lot of overlap.
Nice. And then he just rolled up one day. He's like, "Hey, you want to paint some caves?"
I actually called him because someone's like, "There's this guy that's looking for painters." So I called him, and he's like, "Okay, do you like pizza? We're gonna have a pizza." And I'm like, that sounds good. That was like literally the only question he asked me when I called him. He's like, you should show up at this time and we're gonna have pizza.
So the only qualifications you needed were a love of pizza.
Well, this was really if I had shown up and done a bad job, that would have been something else. But he's kind of willing to give people a shot.
Yeah.
And just see how it goes.
That's very true. Like he's taken in a lot of folks that other people might have just
takes in strays.
Yeah. As a former stray, right? As an orphan child, he has that soft spot for taking in people who might need a break, for good or for ill. Well, let's flash forward to the present.
The present.
Shall we?
Right.
Present. It's a post-apocalyptic day.
Oh, jeez.
A global disease is spreading across the globe. So, so you got some stuff. You did some time lapse, right? You shot a little something.
I did.
So you want to tell people what you're working on, then we can show this thing, and then we'll actually work on it live.
Okay. So, part of the problem of working remotely is like I only had so many things here, so you guys are gonna get one really interesting thing and one, bread and butter kind of thing.
But you know what? It's still, I think even the bread and butter is still interesting to, conceptually. I think it's all interesting to most of our viewers, hopefully.
I hope so.
And they're gonna have.
I heard these people might like miniature terrain.
And
maybe
we will have. Where's the triple? We'll have it at some point. We'll get you to sculpt this thing on camera, the Oblivion Nexus. Oh, I guess you can't see it from there.
All right, I better start doing push-ups. That's gonna be an incredibly heavy sculpt.
Yeah. All right. So what?
So for the time lapse, I did the natural bridge. It was basically just a really quick start to show you guys the big choices that we make at the beginning of doing a sculpt. You saw it in Eli's time lapse also, but you get the biggest changes right at the beginning, and then when you get towards like the last 10 to 20%, it's just minuscule changes to get it to where you want it.
But it's not necessarily fun for viewers to watch like 4 hours of you pushing clay around, like doing big changes.
No, so we time lapsed it.
Wizardry.
Yeah. And I hope I put the clips in the right order. I suppose we'll see.
All right, let's wait.
All right, so I gotta share my screen.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Can y'all see?
Yes. Yeah. All right, so so talk us through what's going on here.
So I take out the loop tool to sort of get big chunks of clay out of it very, very quickly.
And do you choose, like, how do you choose what your where you want to yank out? Like, what's...
Well, for this particular piece, I knew that I wanted to have an area that was particularly narrow, a lot more narrow than the rest of it, so that it looked more precarious. Sort of like, in how in Arches National Park, the arch, it has that that one part that's even more narrow than the rest of it, and it helps make it look. Doing that helps make this piece look both more real and more precarious, as I said.
Well, we want anytime we can get some danger in the sculpt.
Yeah, danger is one of the guiding principles always. Yeah. So. And
isn't precariousness one of the mountain adjectives? I think it's.
Yes,
right?
It was.
Yeah. So you're hitting all of those in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I want people to be a little bit hesitant when they come upon this and they're deciding whether they want to cross it or not.
Love it.
So after I did taking big pieces out of the top, I flipped it over because the interesting thing about this piece is it's going to have the underside. So that's also why it's not glued down to the wooden block. So I would need to sculpt the underside basically to completion and then glue it down, sculpt the top, and finish the sides.
And that's the on the underside there. That's an armature that Toby made in 3D, right?
He 3D printed that. Yeah.
That's so cool because it was like a very specific geometry and an arc to it and everything.
Yeah, it really helps to get the arc properly to have that there.
Wait, are there city builder pegs to hold it to the board too?
Yes, there are.
Toby's the best.
Yeah.
Love it. And then are you looking for a logic in the flow of the rocks? Like how do you approach like a piece like this that's like a very, it's sort of an unnatural, like an arch. I mean, they appear naturally, but like can feel unnatural. Like how do you approach something like this?
Well, you have to think about the having it be, first of all, the same type of stone that's in the rest of the things.
Is it limestone?
The limestone. So for something like this, I was thinking a lot about where does this need to overlap to look like something that actually could have formed and just been eroded.
Are there limestone arches in nature?
I found pictures of them, but
Boom.
I don't know how natural they were. But I don't know. This one, it was really more about how to make it as organic as possible, so that even if it's not a thing that could actually happen, that it looks like a thing that could actually happen.
Yeah, well, that's all that matters, right? Like, is that it feels real enough on the table that people buy it.
Exactly. So you can see here, I was adding back some clay to a couple of the areas to help with the asymmetry, so that the arc wasn't just like a rainbow, just a perfect smooth arc, because stone would not do that unless someone had carved it, or if it was a different kind of stone, it might do that.
Is it hard to be? Is it like is it
yeah,
hard
that's
to
where
be?
I dropped the camera accidentally.
Wait, so is the camera attached to? Is this on your body harness? What is this like?
No, I have my left arm looped around the camera.
Wow.
And because that was the only way I could get the angle properly.
It's
so
awesome
that people
to be
could actually see it.
It's amazing to be in that like it's such a cool angle. I love it.
Yeah, so if I don't finish this one tonight, I'll be sure to film the rest of it if people want to see how it wraps up.
Oh, what I was gonna ask you, for asymmetry, is it hard to fake imperfection? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're always trying to make stuff look real and weathered and organic and stuff. Like, do you have to struggle with your brain to like try and make things intentionally
yeah,
unintentional?
Definitely. Well, the main thing is, I think it's almost natural for, if you're putting cracks in something, or if you to just space the lines evenly.
Right. Yeah.
And that's like one of the things that you have to get away from is you have to constantly be thinking, does this look man-made? Yes. Okay, I need to adjust it. Or does this look too regular? Does this look like boring? Honestly, when you're doing an organic thing and you do it too regular, it just starts to look uninteresting. Like, what makes these pieces dynamic is how dramatic and asymmetrical they are.
I know when.
So there, I don't know. It's really fast, but you can see, like, I had just made a line like right in the halfway point of one of the sides, and later I go back and just smudge it out and carve out an area
because it's too clean, too happy.
It's too halfway down the stone.
Yeah. I feel like bouncing pieces back and forth helps break some of the symmetry, doesn't it? Like, you come in with fresh eyes.
Definitely. Like, well, you're getting like fresh eyes. Like, when you're working on something for a long time, you start to like not see it properly.
Yeah.
So you have to. Well, what I like to do is, if I'm working on it by myself, which for these I will be, I'll just put it down, work on something else for a bit, and come back to it so that I can see it properly again.
Yeah.
But it's also preferable, honestly, to be able to bounce things back and forth with Eli, so that we can get just multiple viewpoints on it. And Eli and I have spent we've had many a long conversation about stones and rocks and how things form. And
I mean, I feel like every environment you have a long conversation about, what are the plants that are in this forest, what are the plants in this swamp, what are the feelings of this, how are the stones in this dungeon different from every other dungeon, how are the right.
Well, for me and him, that's particularly important because we do the bulk of the main stuff. So, like, from Dungeon of Doom forward, all the bread and butter pieces were done by me and Eli.
Well,
So
it
we
needs
have
to
to have a
feel.
consistent style. So that's something that we work out in advance.
Well, we want it to be invisible, right? Like you want it. You don't want it to know that. Just sort of feel
Yeah, it
like
wants to look
all
like one sculptor did it all.
everything. Yep. Just sort of the masterful illusion of Dwarven Forge. What are you doing now in this thing?
So I started like really getting into working on the sides because it was important to consider um, how things were overlapping
Mm-hmm.
without making it look too straight. Because if it wasn't overlapping at all, it would start to look like something that should not be able to stand up at all, and not in like a fun precarious way, but in like a
Defying
this
physics.
doesn't look real way.
Yeah.
So I started for some of the side pieces, I started really stretching out um, where they're going so that the vertical and the horizontal emphasis was crossing.
So you're changing tools a lot here. It seems like.
Yeah, I do that. I don't know. I it's kind of weird because I don't think about changing tools.
That's awesome.
I just do it.
They're an extension
So
of your body.
I feel like my brain must have something in mind when I switch the tool. Like sometimes I'm like, oh yes, I need to do this, so I need this one. But sometimes I get into like a weird flow of just switching tools.
You're in the tool fugue state.
Yeah. And like turning them around, using the opposite end. So I mean, obviously, different tools are more ideal for different circumstances. And I guess if you do it long enough, it becomes intuitive which one you need.
Mm-hmm. Can you even estimate how many hours of sculpting miniatures you've? That's a tough calculation. You need Chug here to calculate that one out.
Yeah, well, at least full time for. I've been sculpting since Castles, so I don't know. It's a lot.
Well, and there were like weeks in Dungeon of Doom of like you did like I don't know. You must have done 100-hour week and like.
Yeah. Dungeon of Doom. I had some over 100-hour weeks. That's true. Ooh.
Yeah, that's
Caverns Deep also. Long weeks. Staying very, very late. Going a little bit crazy.
And time kind of melts, right, when you're in that.
And that was the end.
Woo!
All right, so.
What kind of things do you listen to pass the time?
Oh, I like listening to.
You hit the red. Oh, you
got it.
And now we have to.
I have to turn the camera back on.
Woohoo! I like that your avatar is a picture of Aaron in full demon makeup.
We're all doing that now. It's the cool thing to be Aaron, but you can't be the same Aaron.
Right.
You have to be a different one.
So let's look at this thing, the real clay now. What do we have?
All right, so this is the. This was the natural bridge. This is as far as I got it in that time period.
Hold on, let me hold up this thing. So here is the.
Can you do the beauty guru thing where you have
the beauty guru thing where I put my hand behind it?
Yeah,
did that work?
Hold it down and to your right a little bit.
Right.
There you go. Now tilt it towards camera. And I'm holding up on the stream. I'm holding up the mock. So we can see them side by side. It's exciting. Woo. Take it a little further away from the lens, if you'd be so kind. Like a little closer to your face. There you go. Wow. All right. So what are the big challenges left on this thing?
Honestly, the big challenges are addressed in like the first hour of working on the thing, and then it's just like the matter of doing it.
So here's a question for you. Since you don't have the mock because I'm holding it in hand here.
Yeah.
Do you know that it has two red? It has.
Dots?
Can you see? Yeah.
Where now?
Here comes your major
You're
challenge.
gonna have to send me a picture where those go.
So, wait, you want to try and put one on in stream? Is that crazy?
Let me make you the main video. Okay, so hold it facing like this for a second. So I want to orient it right. Okay, now turn it where the dot was. So the dot's on this side.
And then there's one on the other side and the opposite. So if this one's here, there's one over here, if that makes sense.
You know what? That's going to be just fine.
It was all part of your plan, right?
It was all part of my plan. It's totally already working.
So for you guys that, let me actually get the little thing. Where's the waterfall? For you viewers at home. You know, I cleaned up and now I can't find anything.
That's why you don't clean.
No, I've been forced to. I'm in such a. I don't have the room to sprawl like I do at the office here, so I've been really trying to get everything. It's a whole different world. But, all right, for you, those of you guys at home. So we do on the mocks. Where is it? We have a bunch of little sort of visual symbols that we used for various things. So these little blue dots here are for horizontal peg attachment points. This little red dot is for another horizontal pole for doing, like, this is the peg from this is the piece from the waterfall that we were working on. That's a little overhang steppy stone thing that's going to be a peg based thing. So these red holes can accommodate that is the idea. So that we put them on the mock, we put these little codes so that the sculptors will go, oh yeah, there's a little red thing here. But in this case, because
this is one of the things that gets messed up when we're not in the office.
We're not in the office. You physically
like,
don't
I
have
didn't
the
even
thing.
think about it.
Yeah, well, that's why.
And if we were all in the office, I would have walked in and been like, hey, Nate, can I see the foam? Or hey, Nate, what's the idea with this piece? Or
yeah, generally the phone would have been sitting on your desk this whole time. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, now it gives us something to do on stream. So this is really good. So now she's got to figure out a way. And then ideally this one of them is at like a 45 degree. Oh, you can't see the stream here. Ideally one of them kind of is at a 45 degree.
Oh, so that's important. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's more interesting than everything being 90. Same thing with your right.
All right, so
we're throwing curveballs at you, Nina. You gotta keep it.
Wait, the other side is that one too?
The other side is 90 degrees. So this side is 90. This side is 45. Does that help you?
Yep, got it.
And the other important one is this little rise on the end of this.
That thing. I knew.
Yeah.
That I remembered. I don't know if people can see where I'm holding this. I need to hold it higher. Yeah. You have to tell me if you can't see what I'm holding.
Hold it to your right. To your right a little bit.
To my right.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah. So that's to line up with this piece. Actually, that was the piece that Eli was sculpting on stream. This one. So these guys are gonna have a nice thing where they can line up really cleanly there. This little.
And I have the other side of the thing too, but I guess I can't show that.
No.
No.
I don't think so. Wait, what's it?
Sorry, everybody. I tried.
I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna say
it was
no.
the other side of the thing that Eli was doing on the stream. I have it here, working on it.
Oh yeah, no, let's hold that. Yeah,
okay,
we can show.
Sorry, everybody.
Because there's another thing we're gonna show later.
Okay,
anyway,
I just want to reveal all the secrets.
Yeah. Yeah, giveaways is the new secrets. We don't do beans anymore. We just do giveaways.
Okay.
That's it.
What if we start giving away beans?
Ooh, Valorian beans.
Seems appropriate in these times.
Right, survival and powdered butter to go with them.
Powdered butter and canned beans.
So how did powdered butter hold up to regular butter?
It doesn't have the richness.
Wait, did you break into your supply of powdered butter?
No, you have to at least test things to see what they're like. You can't just wait until you need it to use it, right?
Yeah, that's the logical way to do it. So putting a hole in the side of this thing, it's not just putting a hole, right? You have to sort of figure out how to camouflage it.
Oh yeah, if you just put a hole, it looks stupid. And it has to look like it's part of the stone.
So how are you gonna crack this thing? Like what You know, hold it up. Show us what's your plan.
It actually isn't a big deal because the way it's sculpted now, the holes are going in reasonable places. So there's one. Can everybody see? There's one here, which I'll be able to sort of make it look like the stone here just cracked away a little bit.
Nice.
And then the one on the other side, here, was actually already in a crack area. So I'll probably just make the top come out so that the middle can go in.
So you kind of mask it with a
yeah.
Thing over the top. Cool. And these of course these holes, just to make things really challenging for you, are square, not round, just to keep people on their toes.
It would be actually worse to have a round hole in this.
Right, because all that the stone is very blocky and square.
Yeah. If the holes had to be round, it'd be I don't know. It would be harder to make it look good.
And what else are you gonna do on this thing? So you got to work a couple of holes in there. You want to do that first, and then we'll talk about some other.
Sure.
Bits? Or did you want to do the bounce back and forth thing? Is that great? Is that?
Yeah. So I guess I should explain that.
Yeah.
So for different pieces, we make them in different materials based on what the needs of the piece are. So a material that a lot of miniature sculptors use, I'm sure you have heard of it. It's called green stuff, Neatite. It's like a 2-part plumbing epoxy. So when I'm working on a piece that's green stuff, because it has to harden, I usually will have a piece that's monster clay also, and be sort of going back and forth between them.
So once you mix the green stuff, what's the time before it hardens? Like what's the ticking time bomb?
Well, the thing is like you actually want different hardnesses for different things. Like you actually don't want to work on it right when you mix it, because it's almost too soft to do. It just smushes out, and that's actually a really good point. I should mix them now so I can use it in a bit.
Yeah, let's see.
And then there are other things where like I'll let it sit because I want it to be a little bit harder for what I'm trying to do. So I don't know, if it's green stuff, I usually try to work on it for like 30 minutes at a time, and not more than that, and not very large areas, because if it hardens more than I want it to before I finish what I'm doing, I'll have to just cut it off.
So you have about a 30-minute window to work with it.
That's as long as I like to work in it.
So is that
but
just
sometimes longer?
So is that terrifying? Like you've got like there's this.
I mean,
clock
you can
ticking.
work in it longer. You definitely can. I just usually try to keep it that way so that I'm not like fighting against the material.
Right. You're not gonna try and do an hour's worth of work. You're like, okay, roughly this much is like a 30-minute chunk of time, and give yourself a little padding, and you can do it. Do you sometimes mix? Don't you sometimes cut it with something else? Am I making that up? I feel like Drew used to
cut it with epoxy, which is another 2-part plumbing epoxy. Epoxy with an A.
And what's the advantage to cutting green stuff with epoxy?
It's harder. It hardens it. So green stuff is very, very flexible.
Isn't it sticky too?
It's very sticky and very flexible. Yeah. With the epoxy, it makes it just a lot harder when it cures. And I'm realizing that I'm missing. When you're working in green stuff, you have to use something on the tools to so that they don't stick to the material.
Yeah. Vaseline
is what I use. There are other things that you can use. That's just what I like to use.
You can go get it if you need.
So I am just gonna.
Mace can do some stand-up.
Camera for a little bit and grab my tub of Vaseline. That's such a weird thing to say.
Do we have anything interesting in chat, Mace?
We do have some things in the chat. One of the questions we have that we can answer before Nina gets back is metal dice or plastic?
That's a question for the group.
It's for the group, yeah.
I like metal dice because the heft, where's my right? There's a gravitas, right? When you roll When you roll like this, like there's, I don't know, it feels, it's meaningful. I don't know.
Nina, would you like metal dice or plastic dice better?
What do you mean?
Just in general, which one do you prefer?
Are you giving me dice?
Nope. From chat, but I can get you some dice if you'd like.
I've been making dice.
Yeah, I know.
I'm actually gonna say that if I'm making the dice, there's just people are doing some really, really interesting things with resin dice. They're with the alcohol inks and the swirling and the little inclusions, you can do some really just gorgeous effects. So I'm gonna say that I like sharp-edged resin dice.
Isn't sharp edge? That's the rage right now, right? Like sharp edges
because they look like gems. Yeah. When the edges are too rounded, it's like, what is this for?
Yeah.
So I got my really, really small tub of Vaseline.
Does that count as a tub? It's like a.
What would you call it?
It's like a little ramekin. Well, I guess a ramekin doesn't have a lid.
Vaseline always comes in tubs.
Okay.
That's just the expression.
I think if it's plastic, it's a tub.
It is plastic.
It's your travel tub.
There you go. For a miniature, it's a tub. It's a giant vat.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know what I had here that we never showed us? I had some samples of your of some of the things that you sculpted. Why is the light so terrible on this? What's going on? You can see
should I show them?
Yeah, let's show the new thing.
You want to wait a second?
Yeah.
Show now? Wait.
Yeah, show. Yeah.
So
what are you working on?
The other thing I was going to work on in the stream, that I already started working on, it's called the Reaper Tree.
Woo!
And you can see that I've done a lot of it, except for some of the texture and the tips of the branches, and then all of the things that go on top of that. So the armature is just twisted copper wire, and then green stuff and epoxy over that. So this was the other bean that you guys get to see. Is this thing work in progress?
Have you?
I wish I could show you sitting on a table, because I sort of made it so that like one of sort of like a praying mantis, that it's like it's threatening with its scythes.
What what are they? What kind of what are you drawing from for this
It's
monstrosity?
Very insectoid. The branches are like there's multiple, what you could say, arms. They're like reminiscent of arms. So there's these that look like they're attacking. These are like praying mantis. It's got these legs on the back, sort of, and then it's got two. I can't even tell if people can see what I'm pointing. Two more arm type things up there. So you can see by the way that they're bent that they're reminiscent of human joints, but they're more twisted. I would say they're more insectoid, but then with the swirling musculature type material texture over them.
So how do you this is a big green stuff piece, right? There's a lot, like, even this, there's like, if you're doing this in 30-minute increments, like how big is a 30-minute increment on that? Like, show us on the Reaper Tree, like what a how much is
a lot done.
Like how show like how much of that thing have you done?
So all of the surface texturing on this thing was done in 2 30-minute increments.
Can you hold it to your left a little bit?
To my left.
Yeah. Boom. Perfect.
So you can see where it's wrapping around as opposed to where it's completely smooth. All of that was done in 2 30-minute increments.
Wow. But then how much of the shape can you do in like 1 30-minute sitting?
The shape took the longest amount of time because it had to be done in a lot of stages, and it involved mixing up a lot of the stuff and smoothing it out and waiting for it to cure a bit, and then smoothing it down the branches further.
What are the stages? Do you bulk it up? You do like a thin pass and then a thicker pass and then a.
Well, So the wire that's in this is actually pretty thick. Because I have more wire than I have green stuff, so it's a fairly thin layer over the wire.
So you're conserving
So
supplies while the
yeah, I mean,
the
sure,
doomsday
I'm
hoarder.
rationing green stuff,
Yeah.
but I spent actually a whole day just bending wire
Wow.
before I even put any green stuff on it, because I wanted to get the shape pretty much where I wanted to be in wire before moving on, so that I could make sure to have the support under the material where I wanted it.
And then do you if you get to a place and it's not working, you basically have to just cut off, you have to amputate, right?
Yes,
And
you have to amputate. You can't just smush it out. Once it's cured, it's a very hard material. I mean, that's why we use it for miniature
Yeah.
sculpting, because it can survive vulcanization.
although doesn't it you can like take a Dremel to it and stuff, right? There's like I've seen Drew
Yes,
do
you
some
can.
like
When if well, that's one of the benefits actually of adding the epoxy, is it makes it sandable. Because if it's just pure green stuff, it gets kind of gummy and weird when you try to sand it. But with the epoxy, that becomes possible.
and what can you accomplish with the sanding? Is there
You can get back closer to the shape that you wanted.
like if it puffs
So,
out too much or
well, if you just find that it's not actually working, but you think like, hey, if I just sand it down a bit, it would. Then yeah, I would take a Dremel to it, or take it to the scroll saw and just cut it a little bit. And
have you scroll sawed some green stuff
yes,
sculpts? Wow.
yeah,
Like what would you have to cut
because
out?
it's pretty precise, so
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I love it.
because it's easier. It's honestly safer than me just taking a box cutter and doing it, because I have a bad track record with box cutters.
Yeah, you and the blood blade have a
Yeah, I just definitely cut a finger off. So
no, the
you know.
scroll saw is like much easier to control actually
It
than
is,
like a
yeah.
knife. It's like I'm with you there. So what like how on the Reaper tree, how much
Mhm.
if you were gonna guess, like how much more sculpting time do you think, or how many more sessions of like 30-minute intervals do you think it's gonna
well,
take? On that thing?
I'm my plan is to work on it as like the main focus for the rest of this week, and get it to at least, probably I can get it to 70% by end of day Friday.
Nice.
Because that last 30% is all the detail stuff, and that's the stuff that really takes a long time.
And what kind of detailing are you doing on this thing? Can you show us? Can you hold up.
I want to get it slimy.
How do you sculpt slimy? What's it?
Well, like it'd be just like drips. I did it a bit on that one plant for the plague stone, the flower. There's a little bit of slime on that, but basically you have to do the understructure for it. If it's hanging, you can't just like put it on and then sculpt it, because then you have nothing to press against. So usually I'll sculpt the slime on something else. I like to use like just like a plastic panel. Sometimes I'll do one side, and then once that cures, I'll jam that in a piece of clay and do the other side, and then I'll do how it would attach.
Wow. You should take some photos of this thing as you go. I'm just thinking now, like I don't know, if you
I will try to do that. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Ideally,
was also gonna put some, like, me and Eli talked about it, and we are like talking about like burls and pustules and all kinds of nasty things.
yeah. Let's document this. Let's document the Reaper tree, especially if people get to see it. Part way through, it'd be cool to see. See the next stages and then whatnot. So, and you kind of bounce back and forth, right? You do.
Yeah, I'll work on the green stuff piece until I feel like I'm hitting the point where the material is not responding anymore, and I don't put any more of it on there than I need to. So you don't just lay down a big area of it. You lay down only what you think you can accomplish until the material gets unworkable, because it's something that you want to do in layers gradually.
And then you bake it, right?
Yep, and then I put it in my Easy Bake oven. It's actually a coffee can with a light on it. I learned from Drew Williams.
It's such a perfect DF thing, like this just simple analog.
I think most people use the light with the coffee can. I think that's like,
it's amazing.
Honestly, the best way.
Yeah, hard to top just a coffee can and a light.
I don't know if people can see. I'm just gonna hold it up and start. I just got that tub of Vaseline. I don't know where I put it.
Oh.
Well, it has to be within arm's reach.
Like the story of my life where I pick something up and immediately lose it.
Maybe you should just get an actual tub. It's gonna be harder to lose.
I need to get a vat.
Yeah. Put wheels on it. Take it with you.
Put wheels on it and pull it around like a plow horse.
Momo's brother, Vaseline.
You could, put a cart on the back of Momo and he can pull it around. So can you,
so unfortunately, because of the way that I have to be on this webcam, it's hard for me to show you the side that I'm working on, but I'll do it and then I'll turn it around.
Perfect.
If we were in the office, totally could have set up something a little bit different.
Well, you know what? We will, when we are back in the office, we'll do an on the
another
Anvil.
One where you can see.
Yeah,
exactly
we'll set up a thing over your shoulder and we'll hang out and I'll drink a beer while you sculpt. That'd be a great plan.
You'll drink a beer?
Yeah.
Not a cider?
All right, cider. So what are you working on the tree right now?
So I basically want to get the base of it done because that's the biggest area part right now, and most of the stuff that needs to happen up here needs to happen slower and more carefully.
So you can cover a lot of ground on the base.
Yes, exactly. And for green stuff, I use pretty much the same tools as Monster Clay, but with the addition of I like to use these silicone clay shapers.
What effect does that get you?
They are soft, so if you want to nudge something but gently, and they're also excellent for smoothing, which is very important because it holds textures that you put into it very, very well. So if you accidentally jam a finger on that, your fingerprint, you have to. It's like a pain in the ass. You have to start. Can I curse on this?
Our guiding principle of Dwarven Forge Live is we try and keep it PG.
Okay.
But I think a pain in the ass is close
it's
enough.
A pain in the tuchus.
Whoa, hey.
To smooth out fingerprints, but it's unavoidable because I like to put it on with my hand, so it starts out with fingerprints. If it gets to a point where it's not smoothable with a metal tool, then I'll use the safety solvent to take the top layer off.
I've seen you on the fingerprint hunt. Like you're really fastidious about it.
It's there's a stray print here and there in some of the DF pieces. It's not always my fingerprint. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. But either way, when we see them, we're like, ah.
Well, you've definitely. I've seen you looking at work created by some other people, and with disdain pointing at the fingerprints. When there's a lot of them. I can think of a specific thing that.
You're making me sound like a jerk.
No, you're like, look, there's 97 fingerprints on this thing. What were they doing?
But it's just, it ruins the texture of the thing when it's just covered in fingerprints. But sometimes I've accidentally left them on. I'm not perfect, so. Yeah. But I do my best to hunt down and get rid of every single fingerprint.
I think the ones that remain we consider them thoughtful touches. They're like a little Easter egg.
I see someone in the chat suggest nitrile gloves. I find that they hurt my dexterity. I know that's a me problem, but I feel like I just don't have as much dexterity to do careful work when I'm wearing nitrile gloves.
I'd rather have...
You should wear gloves. You're right. You're absolutely right.
I'd rather have better...
I'd rather have dexterity.
Yeah. I'd rather have better pieces with one or two stray fingerprints.
I'm surprised you haven't, sawed off your fingerprints yet, or not sawed off, but like sanded them off.
John
or
Doe.
used, like acid or something.
Yeah.
You're surprised they
Very
haven't done
cool.
that?
Yeah, it seems like a you thing. Same with
I don't know if that. What does that say about me that you think that sanding off my fingerprints
I
sounds
feel
like a
like
me?
with people doing government work, how it's like they get their fingerprints taken, we should take people's fingerprints away from them once we get somebody at the Dwarven Forge office.
I love it. Man.
Yeah, nitrile gloves also make your hands sweat.
Yeah.
And if I'm sculpting all day,
8 hours in gloves.
such sweaty
like,
hands. I'd have to keep changing them. And I did, when I first actually started out with green stuff, I did do it, and I was going through gloves like crazy because they get so sweaty on the inside.
Yeah, you can't
I don't
work
know.
like that. Yeah.
I'd rather have the dexterity. I also have to like keep my fingernails at a certain length because if they're too short, it hurts my dexterity. If they're too long, it hurts my dexterity. I'm like a rogue. Dex is my dump stat.
Wait, isn't the dump stat the one that you get rid
No,
of?
opposite.
Yeah.
I said it backwards.
You're all
No,
Dex.
I don't know what my dump stat is then. Probably con. I don't know.
Con. I'll give you that. So what are you working on the base here? Are you gonna do the shape, or you?
You can see. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's a slight color difference between the hard and the soft.
I don't think it reads on.
Well, the hardened green stuff, it's a little more yellow with the ratio that I mix it in. If you use different proportions, the color will be completely different. But
and does it turn gray when you mix it with epoxy? Is that
it gets a little less green.
Yeah.
So it desaturates when you mix the epoxy in.
Hey Mace, is there anything cooking in the
Right.
comments?
We have several questions.
Okay.
Mad Roboticist says, do the Dwarven Forge sculptors have different specialties and tend to sculpt specific types of pieces?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So should I just go through everybody and see what specialties are? So me and Eli, our terrain specialists, we're do most of the pieces, honestly, like just all the main terrain pieces. We also do various accessories as we can, because they tend to be.
You guys each have sort of individual specialties within that, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Eli has like an encyclopedic knowledge of plant types, which I think it helps that his wife is a botanist. Well, and it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Eva! Woo! Happy birthday, my wife, Eva.
Eli's also really good with water, like fluid dynamics.
Oh, he's great with fluid dynamics. Let's see, he's great at architectural things. I don't know what my specialty is. I think it's
disturbing things.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's probably like twisted anatomy type stuff, but
yeah,
I also like fluid dynamic type stuff, and the architectural stuff is not as fun to me as the organic stuff. It just I obviously still do it, still enjoy it, but I really like that we've been doing wildlands the past last Kickstarter, and we're obviously doing it for this coming one.
Do you have any little plants that you're really good at from doing the swamps?
I think a lot of like the hanging ivy type things did a ton of. They're fun to do, and like I like to do the little twisty roots.
You like twisty.
There were a couple of plants that like they're not really existing plants. I added a weird tryptophobic looking one.
That thing is awesome. Wait, I can pull up the bank side. This thing was you, right? The you can't see on here. This
there's one that I did, and then there's one that Eli did. And to be honest with you, I cannot
Can't tell.
remember which one is
Well, that's
which.
the strength of the.
'Cause those are months ago.
Let me see if I can get this on camera. And what are Michelle's strengths?
She's the queen of tiny things.
Mistress
So
of minuscule.
if you're gonna sculpt it with a needle,
literally a sewing needle,
like literally a sewing needle, Michelle, she does phenomenally at those. So she'll do a lot of the truly tiny accessories.
I call
Drew's
those
specialty is miniatures,
anatomy
monsters, figures.
Yeah.
He's an anatomist.
Who was that guy he studied with? Didn't he study under
He studied under Terrell Whitlatch, who I don't know if people recognize the name, but she is pretty much one of the top creature designers working in films. Her work is awesome. You should check it out. And then there are other sculptors. Toby, I would say, is awesome at organic stuff also. He's good with stone. He helped with a lot of the mountain stuff. He helped with the original Aranthor Mountains. That was the first thing he worked on with us. The other sculptors, Boris,
who we couldn't get on this. He's booked for a year.
Yeah, but I'll include him in it.
I love it, guy.
He's great at also at figures. And there's
Todd Harris.
Todd, who is good at a lot of stuff. Yeah, good at a lot of stuff. Figures also, though, mostly miniature sculptor.
Lisa Sell.
She just started helping us this year. She was working on stones for the Aranthor Mountain stuff. But looking forward to seeing more from Lisa and getting to know what her specialties are better.
And Pavel
is a great sculptor. I would say he's good at a lot of things. He doesn't always consider like if it's castable.
He is zero. Like he doesn't think about it being castable at all.
But he does a lot of fun detail work.
Yeah, he'll tackle anything.
The Knight of Phoenix says, tell us about one of the pieces you've struggled with and ultimately just smashed and started over.
Oh, I don't know that I've ever smashed a piece. It's more likely that I'll finish something and then I'll show it to Nate and Nate will be like, no. But I don't know that I've ever like completely smashed a piece. There have been pieces where I finished working on it and then dropped it on the floor and smashed it accidentally, and that's usually you're just screaming. You're just so mad at yourself.
Do I really give you a no?
I mean, there's some times where we get like pretty far along in something, and then we find out that it's not what we should have been doing.
Yeah, there's a
couple pieces that we finished entirely that never got released. Yeah. Also,
I will make changes late in the game, which are sometimes terrible for the process.
One of the terms that's thrown around a lot on this channel is beautilarity. And it's the mixture of beauty and modularity. And I'm wondering, what is a good way for you to balance both of them? And what's the challenge of trying to do so?
Wow.
Well, that's actually a really good question. The more modular something has to be, the less unique it can be. So if you're making, like, you probably see this in other miniatures companies that aren't focusing on modularity, is that their houses, for example, can have a lot more
character
because they can lean, they can have sag, they can be like a more fantasy style cartoon houses.
Wildly distinct, right? But
wildly distinct.
You couldn't have.
But if it has to be modular, it has to, like, the measurements are incredibly important. Things have to be straight. Things have to be the exact correct size, and they cannot be too crazy, or it stops working with everything else.
No.
So when we're making for example, this piece does not have to be modular, so it can be crazy.
Which went for
it's just going to sit on top of other things.
It's just a full beauty piece. This is like, let's just make something that's a showpiece. So
the only thing that really matters is that I not go over a certain height and a certain base diameter.
And this is a great example. Is we discussed the original concept for this piece is it was going to be a peg base. Let me get right, it was going to be a peg base tree that could plug into any of our existing stumps, and then create this kind of crazy monster from it. But Nina lobbied hard for. She's like, it
wasn't just me. Eli agreed.
Yeah, but you were and then you were rightfully lobby hard, right? You were just like, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be more badass. Oh, bad tushy, bad tuchus.
Bad tuchusy.
It's gonna be just cooler if it, the base of this thing is gonna be so much cooler if it can really feel alive and crawly and praying mantisy and legs, whatever.
Well, the thing that we struggle with most with making trees modular is that the roots can't be as interesting.
Yeah.
They can't have the like arcs out of the ground, and we can't do a lot of spaces underneath. We can do some, which you'll see when the swamp comes out, but it's you can make a tree a lot more interesting when it doesn't have to plug into a stump that has to be uniform to fit a lot of different trees.
Well, then also and then also it forces it to be vertical.
Yeah, you can't come out because the stump comes up a certain height, and you can't come out of it at an angle, or it just looks incredibly awkward.
So like that was actually one of the big sort of selling points on this thing, was you're like, the Reaper tree is gonna look stupid if it has to go vertical right in the middle. Like we want you want this thing to be able to kind of curve up and around and do whatever. So this is a place where modularity lost out in favor of making it just look way cooler.
Chris would like to know, is there anything you've been dying to try sculpting, but there hasn't been a good Kickstarter for it yet?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi stuff. I don't know. Some of the I try to sneak it in here and there. I'd say some of the plants I've done definitely could be sci-fi.
I would agree with that.
Dude, this.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would be popular, but I love sci-fi personally, and I was raised in a Star Trek family, so it would be a lot of fun.
Elron Chestnut says, "What has been your favorite piece to sculpt since starting at Dwarven Forge?"
Elron Chestnut.
Elron Chestnut, the
Elron Hubbard, the brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law. Okay. My favorite piece to sculpt so far. I think that my favorite pieces to sculpt are actually going to be in the Kickstarter that's coming.
Awesome.
Woo!
And I don't know that I can stay.
Well, is there a favorite thing?
But in the past Kickstarters, some of my favorite things were, I liked doing the forge.
Yeah, the Dwarven Forge. Oh,
Caverns Deep, and the Gibbering Mouther pit was a lot of fun.
The Lemur pool from Hellscape is like one of my favorite things ever. Like, that thing is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that's nasty.
Yeah, I wish I had it on hand to show off here, but.
And then a lot of the other pieces that I'm proud of are, I guess, more they're terrain. So they're things that, like, you have to actually look for the details to see why they're interesting. But most people would probably just build with it, put it down on the table, and not like look at every single side of it and try to find all the weird little hidden bits.
You mentioned in the beginning of the stream also that you've always been kind of involved in the fantasy kind of world, and you've just always loved it in your life.
Yeah, what'd you say?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you remember your first Dungeons and Dragons game and your character for that?
Yeah.
All right. What was it like? What was it?
It was confusing.
Okay.
It was confusing. I was a halfling rogue.
Oh, nice.
And
here's the forge.
It was fun, but it's better when you can actually read the player's handbook yourself.
Yeah.
And have some sense of what you're supposed to be doing rather than someone just telling you. It was quite some time ago, and it was supposed to be a campaign, but it ended up only being like 3 sessions and it fell apart.
I bet the statistics on the numbers of campaigns that have ended that have gone that same way is, it's probably 90% of
Yeah, it's probably pretty
campaigns.
high. It's high, unfortunately.
Well, now you do like professional DMing, and you'll even DM at the office. So, is there any advice?
I love DMing. I almost prefer it to playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's some advice that you would give to people who are kind of scared? Maybe they just started playing, or maybe they've been playing and want to start DMing.
Just do it. It's one of those things that I'm Nike. It's one of those things that's scary, that seems scary until you do it.
Awesome.
And then you realize that, hey, maybe it wasn't that intimidating after all. If you've played enough games, you know the rules.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, there's some other things that you might have to brush up on that are things that the DM would know more than a player. But if you've played, you could DM.
And
King Sax
wait,
would like to know how long ago your first game was.
Are you gonna do you want to do a live stream game?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do one. Sure.
Woo.
How long ago my first game was? How old am I? That's the question. That's a real question. Don't you shut the
shut the tuchus up.
You shut the flurp up.
Shut the mouth.
The flip.
More appropriate.
Yes.
So weirder.
I think my kids are asleep. I think we'll be.
They heard nothing.
They heard nothing.
Probably it's getting on a decade at this point.
Okay.
Probably longer.
What are some of the fantasy games and role-playing games that you find inspiring, whether it's video games or if it's like LARPing even?
Is this a question from you, Mace?
It
is. So, I like, there's a lot of video games that I enjoy, but most recently, the fantasy game that I was enjoying a lot of was The Witcher, which I'm sure at least some of you in the chat have played. I played a lot of JRPGs when I was a little one growing up. Pretty excited about the Final Fantasy VII remake that's coming out soon. Let's see, what other fantasy games? I love the Dragon Age series. So pretty bummed that might not get finished.
Didn't you play Skyrim a bunch too?
Skyrim is a black hole. So they have somehow, like, I'm a real idiot. They've suckered me into buying that freaking game on 3 separate systems.
It's awesome.
So anyway, I love Skyrim. I love Elder Scrolls games, period. But Skyrim, obviously, being the most recent one, other than online, is what I ended up playing the most of. I keep going back to it, keep making different characters, and trying to play characters different from what I usually do. With most games, I start out being kind of a rogue. I like to be sneaky, do archery, do like sneak up behind people and get that sneak attack bonus.
Did you ever play Thief?
I did not.
Oh, you would love. Wait. Can we record this? We have it. It's on the internet, right? This is the first time I've ever asked about a game and you said you haven't played it.
There's lots of games I haven't played.
But I've never encountered it.
There's thousands of games I haven't played.
You would dig Thief. It was like the first stealth game, and it's that you're literally a rogue with a bow and you can pickpocket people and you shoot out. You've got water arrows you can shoot out torches with so the guards can't see you, and it's unbelievable. It was like made for you.
I'll have to
yeah, I think they've made a bunch. I think they've made at least 2 or 3 others. I don't know how modern there is. If there's a modern one.
The first stealth game I ever played was not a fantasy game. It was Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this preceded Metal Gear Solid by.
I'm definitely also a big sci-fi fan. Maybe even more of a sci-fi fan, if I'm being completely honest.
Somebody was asking, let me see in the chat. Oh, have you played Cyberpunk? It's developed by the same people that do Witcher.
I'm looking forward to playing it. It's on my list.
Okay.
When I saw the trailer for it, was at E3 last year. I think was the first teaser trailer, and oh my god, it looks just right up my alley. But currently, I'm playing Breath of the Wild, which I know I'm a little bit behind on that, but I only recently got a system to play it on, so I love Zelda games. It's very different than other Zelda games I'm finding, but I'm spending a lot of time just running around gathering materials and cooking meals.
So it's like
Sounds like
living in the
normal
And
pandemic.
then I go find a Linnell. I don't know if anyone in the chat has played this game and fight him.
Man, I only played the first Zelda on the NES. Which
Zelda was one of the first games I owned, like me personally owned, that didn't belong to like my sisters or
the
something.
gold cart and everything. It's like wow.
The first one I had was Link to the Past.
Is that 2 or 3?
There's one before it.
So it's 3.
I don't know. Someone in the chat probably knows.
For sure.
I also see someone in the Rabbit Burner asked about Shadow of Mordor. Yes, I played that. Because I think I've mentioned that. I mean, who plays D&D that doesn't kind of at least love Lord of the Rings a little bit?
Right.
It was a fun game. The thing I liked most about it was the sort of like Orc clan territory gang war aspect. I don't know how else to describe it, but I didn't finish it though, so sorry to say.
Rabbit Burner's up late. Right? Like what time is it in England? Or maybe he's up early. Maybe it's like
Oh, I see someone else asked about Horizon Zero Dawn. That is one of my favorite games. I highly recommend. If anyone watching this has not played it, play it.
Is that
It's
the dinosaur
so
hunting
good.
archer?
It's like robot dinosaurs,
Right.
yeah. But it's a lot more than that. But the thing that I liked most about it was the story. The gameplay was a bit repetitive, but the story was amazing.
So what's the story on your on the Reaper tree there? How far along?
Well, so
what have we
you
done?
can see the you
Hold
gotta
it-
tell me
perfect.
if people can see.
Hold it a little to your left, and you're perfect. Yeah, there you go.
Left.
Boom,
Oh, that's the right, left.
right there. And
So you can see I put on some tubes, just like just tubes. Just rolled it out like a little snake and put it on there, and then I'm gonna use this little metal tool. This is one that Eli is a big fan of. Also, this guy gets pulled out a ton to sort of smooth it out and put the fluidity, because this is not like normal bark, obviously.
Can you pan down and do it on camera?
I'm trying to figure out the bet. What if I just put it like this? Is there enough light?
Go a little lower with the camera if you
people see?
Go lower.
So I'm almost closing my laptop now. Let me push it back. We promise we'll do this again when we're back in the office and can get a better camera setup.
Yeah, this will work. Yeah.
Can people see?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say you could almost pull up your laptop a little bit if you want.
A little bit?
Yeah. Perfecto.
Nice. What I guess you can pull your laptop up a little bit more. Actually, the thing keeps creeping up. There you go.
Everybody can see my really cool T-shirt.
Wow.
Mm.
That designer.
Yeah, designed by a famous designer, Janet Feldman.
Ooh.
Who you may have heard of.
Yes.
She's really chic.
Hey, we should do our giveaway, shouldn't we?
We should do what?
Our giveaway.
Oh yeah.
Do we have like a secret word?
Would you actually like to announce the word that you have picked for the giveaway today?
So the word picked for the giveaway today is Momo.
How do you spell that?
Momo. Momo.
All right, so everybody type Momo into the chat. And we'll do that drawing in a few minutes. And we're giving away a painted starter dungeon, right?
Yes, sir.
Momo is your word.
We also have a great Momo emote if anybody wants to just use it real quick.
Yeah. Does that enter you in the drawing?
Contest, but it is cute.
Momo has a great smile.
He does.
He's got one of the best smiles I've ever seen on a dog. I'm not biased. I'm saying objectively, he has one of the best smiles that I've ever seen on a dog.
He's got good lines.
Yeah.
So if I live in England, can I win?
You cannot. Sadly, the only people who can win this contest are in the United States.
Did we ever figure out why?
This is shipping.
No, it's like a legal thing for
Twitch.
Twitch.
It a rule thing?
Yeah.
For Twitch, it's not a rule thing, but for Jay, it is.
I think it's that there are different laws for giveaways in different places, and it's too hard to follow all of them at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is one of the things.
That's what he said when we were doing them for past Kickstarters.
Yeah, like I know, Critical Role only does.
And
What?
I was looking at the legalese, and Twitch doesn't outline anything restricting it to just the United States. But based on messages I've had back and forth between Eric about this, we are doing only United States.
Yeah.
But maybe someday we can do like a store credit.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I don't know if the rules would probably still apply, but I don't know.
A gift.
I think the issue was the cost of the shipping mostly. So I don't think it would apply actually in that case, but we can talk to Johanna about that and see.
Do a gift card. Yeah, we could also do. I wonder if we could do Kickstarter credit once Wildlands is live or whatever when we're doing live streams during.
We did some giveaways with Kickstarter credit for the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, so that could be fun. Do a. Do you poke yourself on the wire?
Yeah, but my hands are leather now. Like
dexterous leather, studded leather.
Just, I don't. It's like it doesn't matter anymore. I don't know. My hands. I don't know. It doesn't actually hurt. But yes, I keep stabbing my hand. I actually have a puncture wound right there from when the wire just stabbed right through.
Ooh.
It's starting to heal. But
so your hands are leather, but your wrists are not.
Huh? Oh no, it's like
Oh,
here.
okay.
So still on the leather part, but I don't know. I don't even think about it, but yes, it is stabbing my hands and it probably hurts a little bit, but I don't know. It's not important.
Yeah, Michelle gets stabbed with the little pointy bits a lot.
Well,
She's
it's funny because she was sculpting those hedges
oh.
and she would send you a picture and you'd just be like sharper. And so she'd make it sharper, and she'd be like, "My fingertips are bleeding. Please, Nate. I don't." And then you'd say, "Sharper."
I don't see the
she'd
blood.
be
Here's
begging you, like, "Oh no, my fingertips they're getting absolutely shredded." And Nate would say, "No,
sharper." You need to feel the danger. Where's this one that's
Chuck says in the chat, Nate hates my wife.
Who hates your wife?
Hates it like you do.
Oh.
Chuck says.
Hey, Chuck. Oh, this one is.
Well, they really are.
This one is
they
really
came
sharp.
out great. I accidentally stepped on one,
Ooh.
and it was terrible.
You know what?
It was terrible.
I stepped on the natural bridge from Caverns Deep. It has those like really sharp stalactites on the bottom. It was flipped upside down. I stepped on it and it cut my foot.
Wow. Yeah, I would say that the hedges are worse than a Lego. So.
Yeah, Legos.
Do not just dump them out of a bin and leave them on the floor.
That was. I don't know if any of you remember this. Maybe it didn't. Did it happen or not? When we did a live stream game at Origins for the Caverns Deep early, like pre Kickstarter reveal or whatever.
Yeah, I remember.
And Stefan had a bag of Legos with him for when he
for the caltrops.
For his caltrops. Yes. It was
that
genius.
Was so funny.
It was genius. He strewed out these Legos. He's like, I'm gonna throw caltrops down, and he just pulled out a bag of Legos and threw them on the thing. It was like anybody who stepped on a Lego was like, oh. He had the compressed air for his gaseous form.
That was fun preparing for that.
Yeah.
I remember you wanted we had to paint the lizard mask. So yes. Aaron wore it while I painted it on her head.
You also painted on fake human skin.
Yes,
in Draconic.
The
you made
Skull Feast.
Yeah.
Letter.
On fake human skin, which is now sitting on your above your desk.
Yes.
Oh.
So this is the point at which the green stuff is getting to where it's not gonna give the texture anymore. So I've put on just enough to finish this bit, but oh, I lost the rest of it. I was gonna show you guys that sometimes you mix up more of it than you need. It's hard to know precisely how much. That's why if you look at a lot of miniature sculptures, just the green stuff part, and if they're doing it on a cork, you'll see like a bunch of little lumps of green stuff stuck to the cork.
Bits
That's
there.
the extra. They'll just stick it on there. Obviously this one's not on a cork, so I just rolled up the extra, and I actually don't know where I put it. It's probably stuck to my shirt.
Should make a jar full of all the extras, and at some point we can do something with this giant jar of like hardened, old, crusty green stuff. It could be like I don't know. This is the hoarder in me. I can't.
Yeah,
can't
no, I don't know what we're gonna do with this jar, Nate.
But it's gonna be awesome. At some point,
does you all see all those bins that Nate has behind him?
Everywhere. I have so much.
I'm sure that Nate is only keeping what he
Look at
needs
this.
in there, and not a single additional thing.
Look at these ones. I have a bin above me that you can't see that's labeled "Random Useful Materials," which is
What's in there?
It's full of cat whiskers.
Dude, I have a cat
and
whisker.
broken glass.
This is a good one. This is good. I have a cat whisker collection.
See, you guys think I'm joking about the cat whiskers and broken glass?
You know, okay. You know what inspired me? Okay, so the first of all, the broken glass was from a bus shelter, a New York City bus shelter, which is double pane, like half-inch thick glass. So the pattern by which it broke, it's got these, it's like these chunks.
It's pretty.
It's really cool, and I thought it could be some sort of ice flow thing over. I don't know. I was just like, it was too good. Like, you don't see glass like this every day, so I scooped up a whole bunch of it off the street and saved it. And sitting in my... No, because it's like it's you have to see it. I'll get you a video. It's like,
and I hear you, but it's just funny to hear you say that you were at a bus place scooping up binfuls.
Oh yeah, no, I was walking down the street and I saw it, and I went into my house to get a box and gloves, and went back out and walked like 2 blocks to this shattered bus stop, and scooped up a bunch of this glass, put it in a box, and walked away. And you know what? No one batted an eye because it's New York City.
No, but also you have to keep kinds of things for forever, just in case, because there's going to be that time where you're like, what if I had this?
Yeah,
Totally
I'm gonna need that broken glass at some point. And then I have the cat whiskers. I was inspired. I don't know. This is maybe 20 years ago, maybe more. There was a guy I was LARPing with, was playing a cat person, a SAR they were called, in that game, and he made his own latex mask for it and had these really amazing whiskers out of it. I'm like, man, those are like, how did you make those whiskers? They're so lifelike. He's like, I have cats. I was like,
well, that's kind of genius.
I have cats too. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I use their whiskers. I mean, don't they need them? He's like, they've got extras.
They fall out and you find them.
Yeah, I was like, wait, you cut off your cat's whiskers? He's like, no, if you just like collect them long enough, you can get some whiskers and do a thing.
Yeah,
and
they
so,
fall out naturally.
So I played.
I gave you that Momo whisker that time.
I know, I have it in the collection.
It's good luck.
So anyway, so then I started harvesting cat whiskers, because I was like, you know what? You never know when you're gonna need. No, because you find them, they're lying around, and
But it's weird the way harvesting cat whiskers makes it sound crazy.
well,
like if you just said collecting cat whiskers, I would have been like, yeah, okay, but you're harvesting them.
I guess I'm collecting them, because if it was harvesting, I might be
like
pulling them
like a serial killer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He needs to harvest them.
I'm not pulling them off the cat, so I guess I'm just collecting them. But I have the family, the whole family is they're enabling me, right? So the kids will every now and then, they're like, Daddy, we found a cat whisker. I'm like, awesome, I'll put it in the collection. And so at some point, so I have a lot of cat whiskers at this point. So at some point, I'm gonna need them for something. I'm gonna be making
for the office performance of cats.
Yes.
That me and Macy have already started preparing.
Yeah,
for.
dude, we can make some unbelievable masks with some really nice whiskers. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so you've gone.
So I put the green stuff one into the cooking bucket.
Can you show the cooking bucket?
Cure?
Can you show this awesome?
You want to see the bucket?
Yeah, dude, it's so awesome.
I'm gonna have to bring the camera down because the bucket's hot.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can do it without like just messing everything up.
You can do it. We believe in you.
There's just a lot of wires going on.
Drew is going to be upset that it's not the right diameter
So-
coffee can.
Can you all see the bucket? I can't tell what people
Yeah.
can see.
To your right, camera right.
To my right, I don't.
To your towards your knees,
Towards my.
towards your toes.
Like tilt
I
it,
don't know. Is this?
tilt it
Yeah, and then
in
up.
towards your right side.
Then up. There you go. Look at that. It's a bucket. It's a clamp lamp and a
And a coffee can.
can. High tech. Painfully analog, as they say.
I'm sure you guys also saw my sweet Galaxy sweatpants. That are,
Dude, those pants are dynamite. There's a lot of purple in there.
yeah.
So yeah, so now while that's cooking, you go back to working in some
Yeah, and then
monster
you can
clay.
just go back to doing monster clay, because that's most efficient. If you're just sitting there waiting for the green stuff to harden
Let's
before
go
you
back
get
to
back
this.
to it, you're gonna waste a lot of time.
And what? So I don't. Did we talk about why you? Which medium? Like, what do you use? When do you use green stuff versus monster clay?
When it's gonna be just like pieces that reach out, because if the monster clay is too soft, you can't press against it. So with the wires, it would just not work, and especially for casting, the piece would get completely shredded. So when it's just like a flat thing with no parts that are stretching out, we'll use the monster clay. Monster clay is a lot faster, so we'll try to use this for most things, and also you don't have to harden it, so it stays workable for a long time. This can get dehydrated eventually, and then you can't really work on it, it's too brittle, but that takes a really long time.
And you can also do the hybrid thing, right? Where you take monster clay and you do some little bits in green stuff and stick them in.
Yeah, no, that happens. So do the most of the piece in monster clay, and then if there's like a part that's just sticking up, do that one part in green stuff.
Can you tilt your camera down just a spickle?
Down.
And then a little to your right.
Right.
A little
Good.
more. A little more. To the right. Perfect. All right. So what are you going to put in there now?
Probably I'll just rotate it, and as I see something that needs a thing, I'll do that. I guess that's like not really a super clear explanation. I don't know. You look at the rock and you're like, that doesn't look. I don't know if you guys can see where I'm pointing, but you can see that the clay here is kind of like folded over. So I would look at that and be like, that looks unsculpted. Take it off, because it's a part that I probably didn't get to yet. So just go around, like you see there's this bit here, it's rounded, so I would square it up.
Can you, speaking of rounded and square, and talk to me about puffy, right? So you have a war.
Puffiness is the enemy.
You are war on puffiness, right? What's the?
So there's a lot of sculpting materials that have a natural puff to them when they cure.
Doesn't green stuff puff?
Green stuff does puff a bit. Epoxy puffs a lot, and when stuff is too puffy, it just looks cartoonish. Like it makes the sculpts look, well, yeah, they look puffy. And if it's a material that's not supposed to be puffy, that's bad. Well, so you have to be very deliberate about sharpening things up sometimes.
And I feel like your threshold, like your sense of puffy, like you can sense like 1 millimeter of puff, like puff that a normal human would not see. You'll look at it in disdain.
I probably am too serious about the puffiness.
Yeah,
but it drives me nuts because I just
I know.
I just want sharp edges on things because it for a lot of things that we make in particular, it just looks nicer.
So, is there anything?
It's easier to get nice, sharp, clean edges in the monster clay, actually.
You know,
we use the hard variety. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
No. This is like, I realized I tried sculpting a piece once. And
Was it puffy?
Yeah. Oh, I showed it to Stefan. I was like, hey, look, I made a little thing at home with Sculpey because I was like board, and he goes, you show promise, but it's really puffy. I was like, what do you mean?
Puff is the enemy.
He's like those edges. They're not puffy. Yeah, I just found it the other day. It was a little obelisk.
Do you have it with you?
Yeah. You want to see it? It's
Yeah.
It's a little puffy. Don't show me.
You gotta show us now.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should mention, before switching back to the monster clay, I clean my tools. Because you don't want to get Vaseline on the monster clay.
There's my my puffy obelisk.
Oh, hey.
Those puffy corners. I did it in Sculpting. I think it was really hard to control. That was the first and last time I sculpted a. Actually, you know what? No, I take it back. My first one was.
I did a lot of my early sculpting was done in Sculpey.
Same. I guess my only sculpting has been in Sculpting.
When I was a, here you go. I sculpted a, where are we? Whoops. Did a dragon when I was like 8.
Wow.
That's puffy. And a classic, this was a little more refined, I smoothed the water. This was a Catosaurus Rex. So it's a T-Rex.
Oh man, I wish I had my childhood sculpts. I used to do a lot of Loch Ness monsters for some reason.
Nice.
Yeah.
A whole squad of Nessies. What's a group of Nessies? A group of Loch Ness. Rabbit Burner would know. Rabbit Burner, what's a group of Loch Ness monsters is
He
called?
didn't go to bed? It's so late there. A pod, someone suggested. That makes sense because they
Pod of
like
whales.
dolphins and whales. Yeah, I used to do a lot of Loch Ness monsters and dinosaurs and food.
And food?
Yeah.
Like life-size food?
There's a whole community for this.
There's a community for
doing
everything.
Tiny food. Just cute little food.
Cute little food.
Actually, recently, tiny little food has popped up in pop culture where I forget what it's called, but you can go to Target and buy these kits of miniatures, and it's just like mini cans of Lay's and like mini things of bleach.
Huh. Like dollhouse supplies?
Basically, but it comes in like this ball that you crack open. My sister's obsessed with them, and you like just get a ton of, I think it's called mini brands.
Huh. So it's you don't know what's inside. It's like a blind bag. You don't know what's inside. Yeah. It's some sort of miniature thing that you would have in your house, but it's miniature. Huh.
Exactly. Somebody in the chat saying Shopkins, so that might be it.
Shopkins? There's a Shopkins Run.
It's not
video game.
Shopkins.
No.
It's called Mini Brands Shopkins, so
Mini Brands.
I guess it's a specific Shopkins.
I don't know. Something is really nice about tiny little foods. Well, I don't know. It's probably like an obvious statement coming from me, but I love miniature things.
And you like foods.
And I love food, so makes sense.
Things blown out of proportion, whether it's too big or too small, is just like one of the most fun things that you can do.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the giant piano in Big.
Yes.
Wait, have you seen that, Mace? Have you seen Big?
Really? It's really, I like it.
I don't have anything against it. I haven't seen it. I just haven't seen movies.
You've seen a lot of movies, just not movies that other people have seen.
Right, I've seen the weird ones.
Yeah. You know, during this pandemic is an ideal time to watch Braveheart, I'm just saying.
I know, and you know what? I keep trying to do it, but I keep forgetting that your copy, for whatever reason, doesn't work in my computer, so I have to pirate it online. I promise.
I will buy you a copy. What do you?
Do not. I'm totally not gonna pirate it, internet, but I'll find a way to watch.
I'll buy you.
You're so serious about Braveheart.
It's a lifestyle.
This comes up every couple of days.
I know. Were you there at LARP when he?
I was in the other car with Eli, and we just saw you guys stop suddenly, and we didn't know what was going on. And then we got out of the car, and you were all yelling at each other, and we had no idea what was going on.
So for the people in the chat, the first time I ever went to LARP with these guys, I was in a car with Nate. I think it was Janet and Selena, and we were talking about movies. And Nate was talking about what really inspired him and like why he likes to do like LARPing kind of stuff and just like his background. And then he mentioned how much he loved Braveheart. And I casually, like, I haven't seen Braveheart just because like I haven't seen a lot of movies, but I didn't think it would do anything. But Nate yells, "What?" And then like stomps on his brakes pretty much and keeps
Slammed on the brakes. We thought something was wrong.
He was gonna turn this car around on me like my father, and he's like, "You haven't seen Braveheart?" So yeah. Then he gave me his copy, and I've since never seen Nate that angry.
She spitefully continued to not watch it.
I was betrayed. I drove her all the way to LARP and she hadn't even watched Braveheart. It was like a great betrayal.
I'm sheltered.
No freedom.
Man.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy you a copy right now. What oh, you know, everybody's telling me I need to watch Onward. I
haven't watched it yet either.
I've had like, I don't know, this weekend like 4 different people told me I need to watch Onward. And then the problem is, I think, is it only on Disney's streaming?
I think so, because I want to see it as well, and I think that's how everybody has been watching it.
There's got to be another way.
I have the Disney streaming.
Oh yeah, if I give you like a chunk of money a month, will you share your...
Yes.
Sweet. It might be on Prime Video now too. It says Kazak's Cam.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Were there any questions in the chat that we missed?
Let me check.
Has anybody in chat not seen Braveheart? Let's just get to the bottom of this.
Euphoric Snipez says, "Please show your favorite painted mini."
My favorite painted mini.
Yeah.
Man, everything's at my parents' house.
Oh.
Let me think about what I even have here. Yeah, no, all the minis that I did when I was younger are at my parents' house.
Here's a mini that Rabbit Burner painted. Woo. This guy gets a lot of airtime. And this is a Doug Behringer's Gary Gygax holding the Monster Manual, first edition Monster Manual, wearing a Dwarven Forge t-shirt.
That's awesome.
And here's what else? I got a hamster. A hamster Warcry. Where is he? There you go.
Hamster painted up a bunch of zombie farm animals for me the one time.
Oh.
I gotta show those on the stream sometime. Those are awesome.
How cool was it last night when the door opened and that golem came out? It was the one that Hamster had painted. You know, I was nervous.
I was very conflicted.
Yeah, that was a highlight of the thing.
I almost betrayed all of you.
Yeah, it was great. Good character moment. D&D is the best. Oh. I wish I could play D&D every night.
You can.
No, I have children.
You just have to sell your soul and get 27 hours in a day instead of 24.
29, I think it would take.
Okay.
I'm gonna say. So what are you working on over there, Nina?
So I'm making things sharp. I'm just anything that's like rounded out at all. I'm like sharpening before I put the stone texture on it.
What are some thoughtful touches that might go onto this thing?
Oh, I actually hadn't thought about that, but the interesting thing with ones that have undersides is I like to do maybe like an insect of some sort, maybe a spider or a centipede.
Let's ask the studio audience. What should she put on the underside here? What sort of critter should go under this thing?
Also do the drawing for the prize.
Oh, we still didn't do that yet?
Nope.
Oh man. All right, so tap. This is your last chance. You get 10 more seconds to type Momo in the chat. MOMO if you want to win a painted starter dungeon. 10.
Are we ready?
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Starter dungeon. Oh wait, should we show them?
Someone put Chug. That person should win.
Mad Roboticist is the
Woo!
Yay! Congratulations.
I think I have a
Congrats.
picture of the starter dungeon. There it is.
That's a really good username.
the person who
Starter
put
dungeon.
champion was Chris also.
It was Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris gets nothing.
Chris gets
some-
nothing.
You know, Chris gets our love. Chris gets.
Right,
So
but
there
that's
you-
not like a tangible thing.
It could be.
How are we gonna make love tangible, Nate?
I don't know. We can make it
KS8 make love tangible?
Give him
modular.
your actual beating heart.
It probably won't be beating at that point. Just gonna say.
Depends on how fastly you give it to him.
Cool. So the mad roboticist. Give us your info, Mace.
Yeah,
Get
I
you-
just messaged you. For some of the thoughtful touches people would like to see, there was glowworms, spiders, bats, snake, trolls, lizards, mouse.
Trolls. We haven't done bats, have we?
Did anything get like multiple mentions?
Troll.
I don't know that I can do a whole troll on the underside. I feel like if we're gonna do a troll, it needs to be just a separate piece entirely.
Yeah. What else got multiple?
And we should do the mega deer first.
So to clarify a
Wait.
thoughtful touch, it's a tiny, tiny little hidden detail.
yeah, it's
that
just
you would-
an entirely unnecessary little detail that we will spend far too long working on.
that
But that they're sort of like Easter eggs for people that get the unpainted.
or the people that touch up the painted.
Yeah,
Right, some people
or
get
the
the-
people that just spend a lot of time looking at the pieces.
Yeah.
Ooh. Dab 1800 says traveler graffiti.
Ooh,
That could be interesting.
that could be interesting.
Dab
Like, I
is
don't know if it's the politically correct term.
No, but some kind of graffiti.
yeah.
Let's leave it at that. Would be cool.
The
From one of those. Wasn't there like what did you call that group of people that were running around when we did the play test, Nate?
the Wailuli?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not people, are they?
Well, no.
Yeah.
But
I like how you were very secretive. We what was I just gonna say about the Dab? Isn't he? Hasn't or they have been on every stream, right? Is that
yeah.
one of our
I think there's maybe one or two,
Ah.
if they missed any.
maze?
Many. Yeah. They're an avid supporter.
Love it.
Shane Patrick says a bone, and I believe that's the father of Aurora.
Hey.
Hey. Shout
Hey,
out to
hey.
Aurora.
Hey, Shane and
Gonna
Aurora.
be an amazing sculptor.
When we
Already is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
when we did building of the build of the month last week with it, and we were somebody was suggesting we have a Leviathan in the thing, and then they suggested it became what did it become the Cluckin?
Cthulhu or something.
It was the Cluckin, I think. Instead of Leviathan, it was the Cluckin. Oh, it was the Kraken.
Instead of the Kraken, it's the Cluckin.
Yeah, it became the Cluckin, and they suggested it become the Baba Yaga legs be in the build.
So when I say that Aurora is going to be an amazing sculptor, what I mean is by the time Aurora gets to my age,
Oh man.
she's going to be like out of this world.
Well, this is the
So-
thing. She's 12 and
But
she's
she's
sculpted these
already
legs.
a great sculptor.
Look at these things. They're awesome. I also, the hoarder. Damn, I haven't thrown out the Valorian fried chicken bucket yet either.
You can't throw that out.
No, I'm physically incapable of throwing things out.
You have to keep it.
Yeah, well, it's
Oh, Shane says that he's the one that made the bucket.
nice. He also cast. I'm getting feedback on myself. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. I was getting feedback, but it's gone. Alright. So what are you gonna put on as a thoughtful touch?
Oh yeah.
What were they? I think a couple people said lizard, and that sounded interesting.
Yeah, a few people did say lizard.
Maybe a lizard. I
Yeah,
think someone said bat, and I think it's because it would have to hang down. That might not work, but we could do like a bat skeleton embedded in the stone. We did that before.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if anyone knows which piece that we already did has a bat skeleton on it.
Comment.
Yeah, you should do something new.
I'm not gonna give the answer either way.
Can you narrate it?
You'll have to look for it.
Kickstarter, maybe?
Hmm?
Can you narrow it down to a certain Kickstarter?
Caverns Deep.
Okay.
Although that's a broad. It's the most pieces we have.
Are there any questions that we?
I haven't seen one in a while, but I have some prepared.
I can give people a clue about the bat skeleton piece.
Okay, yeah.
It's a 2-part piece. And it's like a signature piece of Caverns Deep.
Haven't had any guesses yet, but
Mm-hmm.
Stairway to Violence, says Shane Patrick.
Nailed it.
Oh, nice. Good job.
Here's the... I don't know if you can see it right there. Where's my focus? Hey. Right there. Bing. Mm-hmm. You know what? It's approaching 9 o'clock.
It is.
We have to wind down in a few. Also, I think I hear my kids gallivanting about, which is
Yeah, I hear like footsteps.
There's a fee-fi faux fummin going on somewhere.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. They should not be awake nor gallivanting.
Didn't they go to bed like 2 hours ago?
Conceptually, see, it's a process. It's a lot like green stuff. It has stages and layering. It's
Dab 1800 says, can you tell the difference by the finish between you and Eli on a piece?
Yes. Yes, I can at least. We try to get as close to uniform as possible, especially with trading pieces back and forth. Ones we both worked on become incredibly uniform, but that's not always possible. There are ones that I've done entirely and ones that he's done entirely. It's hard to really verbalize what the difference is.
It's like a signature.
But yes, you can tell the difference.
Well, you just look at the fingerprints.
There are, you know what?
But there's a ton of pieces to this day where you'll look at it and be like, I don't even know who worked on this.
Well, part of the problem is you work on so many pieces over a long period of time, and you just forget. Like, when I got my Caverns Deep stuff and I was opening it, I was like, oh yeah, this thing. I just forgotten about it entirely.
There were a lot of pieces in that. Plus, by the time you get it, it's like between 12 and like 18 months from when you sculpted the thing. Because we ship, between 9 and 12 months after our Kickstarter launches, but we're doing stuff, so it's actually longer, right? We're starting stuff usually 12 months before the Kickstarter. So it could be almost 2 years from when you worked on a thing till you get it in hand.
Yeah.
That's a long period of time, especially because there's a ton of sculpts in between that period of time.
Yeah, no, there's tons of, like, most of the Dungeon of Doom stuff, I don't remember doing it at all.
That was like 100 years ago.
It was 100 years ago.
Elf years.
And I wasn't sleeping, so I don't. It's Dungeon of Doom. That whole year is just gone.
Yeah.
But I sculpted. How many pieces were in that Kickstarter? A lot. I think at the time we were saying that I had sculpted like over 60 pieces for it.
Probably. I think it's like 184 if I'm gonna guess.
Then I sculpted more than 60 pieces for it.
Yeah, it was. I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't want that number sticking in my head. I know Caverns Deep was like 234 or something, 231, which was Dungeon of Doom was less than 200. But I can't remember what the count is offhand. I could pull the spreadsheet up.
So Shane Patrick just asked if I did the ruins. Yes, I did do the ruins. They were sculpted originally for Dungeon of Doom, and they got released and expanded in Caverns. It was definitely one of those things where when it got cut from Dungeon of Doom, I was like, oh no, I spent so much time on these. Will they ever see the light of day? And they did.
Do you have...
I was looking for a ruin on here, but I don't have.
Oh.
Do I have what?
Yeah, I was going to ask Nina, do you have pieces like that for this upcoming Kickstarter without having to name names?
Stuff that's been killed?
That may have been cut before, but now are resurfacing.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think everything we're doing in this one is new so far.
Yep. But there might be things that we end up cutting from this that go into the next. Or... We didn't cut anything from Caverns Deep, did we? That's...
I don't remember. That was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I bet we did.
Yeah.
I just can't remember what it would have been.
Oh, you know what? You know what?
Hellscape, wasn't that like a deviation from Caverns?
Oh, it was the expansion.
Well, we originally...
Oh, the banks, which got released in Hellscape, the large banks.
Yep.
Okay.
Those were sculpted for Caverns Deep.
And you know, I bet the Fire Elemental Myrmidon will from Hellscape will make it into.
There's a ton of Hellscape pieces that were awesome that didn't come out. So hopefully.
What else did we do that didn't?
I can't say. Can I say? I don't know. The Momo piece didn't come out.
No. We got to do the whole adventuring party.
Ooh, Mad Roboticist would like to know who will be sculpting the waterfall piece. Is the sculpting pieces that have to flow together like that harder?
Yes, they have to match up.
It's real hard.
I don't know who whoever's gonna be sculpting them is probably gonna be whoever gets to it first.
The challenge with that too, with the pieces that need to line up really well, is most of the time the monster clay is attached to a board, right? The armature is on a board, so you can't necessarily like just line it right up to the thing.
You have to just measure.
Yeah, it's been unless Toby makes a crazy armature that like is detachable and
there's a lot of crazy armatures in this one.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So it is 9.
Yeah, we should wrap up, I think. Did you decide what you're gonna put on the underside so people can look forward to it?
Let's do a lizard.
Lizard.
If people want to follow on social.
Oh yeah,
put a picture of the lizard on social. That's a great idea. Great idea.
Do you want to clarify that is not how you spell your name also?
That is not how I spell my name. But
It's
everybody
phonetic.
has started spelling it that way because of the handle. It started because I had a teacher that called me Nina once. And I thought that was crazy, so I started spelling it phonetically.
Was she like British?
No, he was not. He was an American. I don't know. It was just a weird thing. And then that's, I don't know. So it's actually Nina, like the normal way.
Rabbit Burner would like to name the lizard Dave.
Dave.
Sure. It's a good name for a lizard.
We get a picture of Dave out there.
So if anyone has any questions that they think of later, please just find me on social media. Send them along. I'd love to hear from you. And
chances are, if you're talking to Dwarven Forge on social media, you're talking to Nina or Selena. Yeah.
And now Mace is helping out with that too.
All right, let's go. Let's take this thing all home. So, all right, Nina, do you want to pan up your camera?
Oh,
so
yes.
Say goodbye.
Sure.
Oh, and get Mace back on over here. Boom, ba, junga, boom, boonga. There you go. All right, so this is gonna wrap up. Oh, we didn't tell anybody to go to Wildlands. So these pieces that Nina has been working on here are for our upcoming Kickstarter, Wildlands, which will be our 8th Kickstarter. Yeah, our 8th Kickstarter, and we don't know when exactly we're gonna launch it because there's a pandemic in the way currently. But you can look forward to seeing these pieces at some point this summer in Wildlands. And if they want to sign up for Wildlands, how do they get there for the info?
They go to dwarvenforge.com/wildlands. I put a link in the chat. If you are ever here looking for it and we're not here, just do !wildlands and it'll give you all the info you need.
Woohoo! Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us for another episode of On the Anvil. It's fun to sort of peel back the curtain and show you our process. And Nina, thanks for logging on today and pushing Clay around. And
You know what? I've been stuck in this apartment by myself, and I'm just really happy to interact with some people.
isn't it like? Don't you feel like you had a slice of humanity today?
Yeah. It's almost like going to a bar.
Oh wait, I forgot this thing.
Almost.
It's like going to minus the alcohol.
Minus the alcohol and the other people.
Yeah, it's minus all this stuff that you have in a bar. But wait,
Yeah.
sitting in front of you.
Give
So
me bar peanuts though.
So we will be. Yeah, I could go for some peanuts. So we're gonna be back next week, every Wednesday, 7:00 Eastern. We'll be back with our next On the Anvil. Maybe we'll do another guest now that it seems to be working. Let us know. Let us know if you enjoyed having having a virtual guest, how that works out. Let us know across the board. Right? We want to know. We want to hear your feedback. Let us know what you think of the channel. What kind of content you'd like to see. How we can fall over. And what other streams do we know what our schedule is next week yet? Besides On the Anvil next Wednesday.
Everything is up in the air.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get more gaming content. We have one slated for later this month. We might have one sooner. Just depends. We will release the schedule info as soon as we have it for you guys. And you can always check our Twitch page for the schedules of the week.
Right. So we have some more D&D coming up at some point, and we're talking about a paint stream, maybe an intro to how to get started painting terrain or something. And I don't know what other things we're kicking around, but we'll keep the content cooking. Hopefully, at least 2 streams a week would be the we're going for. And thank you for spending the time with us. It's nice to have some virtual human contact in all of this.
Yeah. Thanks for supporting us, guys.
Yeah. And
Bye. Thank you all for tuning in.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.